everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Match Slip podcast. My name is Frank. I'm your host of the Match Slip. On today's episode, we're talking with Allan of Metagames Unlimited out in Springfield, Missouri. If you haven't already checked out our past episode, I highly suggest you do so. You can check it out on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen to podcasts. But without further ado, I'd like to welcome Allan to the program. Allan, how are you doing today? Thanks for joining.
Pretty good. Thanks for having me on your show today. Appreciate it.
I'm happy to have you on. So, Allan, if you could tell the audience listening a little bit about yourself before we get into the nitty gritty into the store and what drew you into opening up a game store.
Sure. I work a full-time job in addition to also owning the store, and have done that throughout my career of having the store being open for over 25 years. And it's always been busy and hectic. We started back in 1997. And what really drew me to the store and opening up is I was tired of driving and traveling for Magic the Gathering tournaments. And I said, hey, why not just host them at home so I could be closer and be able to have our local community grow from that. And that's kind of how it all started, was with Magic at the Gathering and hosting tournaments and building a local community. And that's how we did it.
Did you start playing Magic the Gathering from its infancy when it very first started in 1993?
Yeah, I originally started playing Magic the Gathering when I was attending University of Missouri-Rolla. It's now changed names, of course. But yeah, that's where we all started in the Missouri area.
Did you play casually? Did you play competitively, like tournament-wise?
Played very much competitively throughout my career playing Magic until I opened the store, and then basically gave it up just to be able to host and run events and judge and that kind of thing.
So how many years of that was of the competitive play?
Probably from 94 on to 1996 or so, I would say, very competitively.
Okay. How were your results like from what you can recall from that time, or anything memorable that sticks out during that time?
Yeah, I had a couple good showings here and there. I remember participating in a couple of large events, them being very early. I remember the Pro Tour at Queen Mary. I remember some shows in Columbus, Ohio. I forget the name of the convention, and I apologize for that. But I do remember that one being held for nationals one year. That was pretty fun. Played in just tons of events and traveled, with my best friends and partners, and it was fantastic.
That's great. And did you have to do, I'm guessing you were involved in a lot of play testing and at that type of level of competitive play?
Yeah, it was, I think the Magic Dojo was the go-to website back in the day, but it was in its infancy as well. When we first started playing, there was no net decks or not much information. In fact, we would communicate regularly on IRC, so that tells you how long ago it was. But we had a great time with it. It was definitely a different game way back then.
Yeah, definitely remember IRC. That's really going back almost even before AIM was a thing. But when you're prepping for those types of events and doing the play testing and meeting with your team at that point in time, for people listening, can you give them an insight as to what that's like? Because I'm not sure if people fully understand the competitive side, because I know there's a lot of casual players, and I'm curious, like, if you could provide like a little bit of an insight as to what it's like preparing at that type of a level, because it becomes almost like work, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, we ate, slept, drink it. I mean, it was 24/7, always on our minds. It was definitely an addiction. We called it cardboard crack way back then too. I think that's caught on since. But we would meet, almost daily at friends' house that had large enough spaces. We'd play it anywhere we could, really, and we had a really strong core group of players that would always get together. And anything went, and we did nothing but play competitive, and we were very much competitive against each other as well. And we would build decks just that were unimaginable and try different and new things because the internet wasn't quite as widespread back then. So anything went. It was fun. 60 card decks, 15 card sideboards. There was such thing as mana burn back then and interrupts. So the game is just, really transcended since back in the day, but it was definitely a lot of fun playing in what they now term as the old school type venue of Magic the Gathering. So that's my fond memories of it, and that's how we kind of kickstarted the store and got it off its ground, is by those players that were very good friends and loyal to us in the area. Definitely helped us be able to not only start it, but continue that business to what it is today.
When you officially made the switch to go from being a competitive player to a game store owner, was there a point or a tipping point, I should say, that you decided that that was something you wanted to foray into and start your own business?
Yeah, I think a lot of it had to do with just being more at home with our family and our friends. Back then, I did have a partner, and he was fantastic. He's no longer with us. I miss him a lot. Uh, and we just were tired of traveling. He played very much competitively with me a ton throughout that period of our lives, and it was fantastic. But we were missing a lot of stuff at home. We were missing birthdays. We were missing all kinds of events, and we were tired of traveling. And so we decided, hey, why, we're great friends. Why don't we just open up a store together? So we ended up doing that, and then I've progressed. Into the future here, and carried it on now. I think 27 years is where we're at.
That's quite a long time. I think you may be the game store open the longest that I've spoken to thus far. So, since your origin has lasted that many years of having the store, and I'm sure it's probably a long story, and feel free to discuss as long as you're comfortable with, but what is the origin story of your store from the day you opened and what led to it?
That's literally it. We were playing competitive Magic. We were traveling all over the United States, driving, flying, playing. I would regularly, drive to different places to visit with different competitive players at the time, just so that we could all have some experience and trying to, find the winning combination of decks that might be able to take us to the top. And we had a lot of fun with that, but the travel just got to us, and we had families, and we wanted to be able to be home with them. And we did okay playing. We had a lot of cards. Prizes were different, I think, back then a little bit. We had a lot of packs, um, and we just held on to everything, and we just decided, hey, it was a complete gamble. We just rolled the dice because we wanted to, and we both put a nominal amount of money together, and we just put it out there. And luckily enough for us, it took hold and is still going today.
What was it like in those early days when you're trying to figure it all out? Was this your first time ever owning a business and like essentially trying to figure things from the ground up?
Oh yeah, and if I ever had to do it again, I probably wouldn't do it in the game industry because it's really hard to be a brick and mortar store. We've lived through a lot, and there's no roadmap or book that tells you how to compete with behemoths like Amazon and such. So we've managed to, definitely have our niche, but it's not an easy way to go. It's not something I would recommend for the faint of heart because it's tough, and it's hard to guess what's going to be good and what's going to last and what's going to hold on. Um, so,
What was it like in those early days? What types of things did you have to figure out outside of just learning how to run a business? What were some of the difficulties that you experienced early on that may have been unanticipated?
I mean, we studied it quite a bit. I mean, we had a good idea of, how to do business, and we think we're smart enough. We were just lucky a lot too. But we did anticipate some of the hurdles. We understood, square footage, and, retail product inside of it. Some of the challenges we had with finding enough product at that time. Board games weren't as huge as they are today. So there was mainly, two real front runners. There was Games Workshop miniatures, and there was Magic the Gathering, and those were pretty much the anchors when we first started. And we ran with those for 2 or 3 years. And it wasn't the best of years those first few, but we got through it, and we continued to grow it. And then we saw some peaks with some larger games, Mage Knight. I remember when that came out back in the day. Some role playing books took off. Some additional card games had some hit or misses here and there, off and on. I remember Legend of the Five Rings being one of those. Star Wars back then. Now here it is coming again with Unlimited. But yeah, there wasn't as many products, I don't feel, back in the day. But again, it's been a long time, and I've gotten some amnesia from those early days. So definitely way in the past to try and go back that far. In fact, I can't even count the years to make sure my math is right, but I definitely know that it's been a long time.
And with everything you've learned since that time and, all the knowledge you've acquired, how do you feel that that translates to today? Like in terms of running the business on a day-to-day basis while holding down a full-time job? Like, is it easier in the sense that you have been in business for so long, you know what to anticipate, what to expect, and then it's just, dealing with, you know, things you maybe can't change and don't anticipate, like you mentioned with the products, how the products, just if you take Magic the Gathering, for example, with how many projects they come out with and trying to maintain that. How would you look at where things are now with the business and maintaining those various, SKUs and how you manage things now from everything you've learned?
Well, I cheat a little bit. I think that's important to note that I have a world class staff that is just fantastic, and they have been with me for a very, very long time. Some of them over 20 years. They are tremendous. I couldn't do it without them, and they know their stuff far better than I do at this point. And I rely on them, and I do everything I possibly can in my power to make for sure that I can support them the best that I can to make sure that they keep wanting to be there for as long as they have been. I think we've done a good job with that, and I'm very proud of them, and they helped me throughout uh, the good times and the tough times. Of course, everybody knows of the COVID incident, and that was fantastic learning experience there too. And I couldn't have got through it without my staff for that. But each and every one of them is fantastic, and those past, present, have all been wonderful. And we've been really fortunate to select some tremendous human beings to be a part of our store and make it a place we like to go to and enjoy.
That's great to hear. I mean, especially having employees that have been with you for, 20 years or more. How many employees do you have overall at the store?
At this time, we have 9.
And are they out in their own silos within the store in terms of like departments, or are they more of like front of end sales, or how do you divvy up the responsibilities?
Uh, all of them can cross over to wherever they would need to fairly easily. We do have some specializations that are there for sure, um, but we do try and make sure that we are well rounded with what we do. So we try and keep interest in other areas, even if there's something that we can hit a home run in a particular category. So our main Magic guy is just fantastic at what he does, but he can easily transverse to other TCGs. And also has some experience with board gaming, miniatures, that sort of thing. So they're great at the front of the store and they're great at the back of the store, and they're very, very well rounded.
That's great. It's good to have that versatility. Makes it a lot easier from your end too. So I see you have 10,000 square foot of space,
Yep.
as I noted on when I checked out your website. Was it that big from the very beginning, or
Oh,
was that add-ons?
no, and I also would stress too that besides having an amazing staff, we have just a tremendous local community here in Springfield, Missouri, that supported us throughout all those years. So that's definitely helped a lot too. And they give a lot of input, and we keep our ear to what they're saying and try to accommodate what they want and try and move in those directions so that we're supplying what they would like to see when they come into a store that's local to them and actually gives them a chance to look into a kind of a showroom without having just a blind order something off the internet. So couldn't do it without them either. No, our first store was absolutely just tiny, and it was on a very unique location. They had a lot of railroad tracks, and but it was okay. It was a strip center, but I think it was 750 square feet that we first started out with, and it was very small. And we made the most of it, but we quickly, in about 2 or 3 years, I believe, I don't remember the exact timeline, we were able to expand. We worked with a local bank, not as from a finance speaking perspective, but from the location that they had a large front portion that they weren't utilizing, and they offered it up to us to set up. And we took them up on it, and we had that relationship with them for about 4 years. And it was a much larger space. I think it was 3,200. So when you're going from 750 square feet to roughly 3,200 square feet, that's quite a big big jump for us. So that was great to have that relationship with them. They decided eventually that they wanted to expand and they wanted to utilize that space. We knew that would happen. Um, and we were allowed to move further down in that same shopping center. So we did that and we stayed there for another 4 years or so. And then we had an opportunity to move into our own facilities eventually. And that's where we're at now. And we have remodeled our building a couple times that we've been in. And we addressed some concerns with, making sure that we could have more foot traffic by getting some different tenants in the mix with us. So our building is also occupied by a Firehouse Subs, local barbecue restaurant establishment, and a Sherman-Williams paint store. And that's been fantastic for us for about the last 6 years.
Have you worked with those businesses like hand in hand in terms of sending each other like business?
Oh, yeah. Of course, I don't know if it's a hand in hand per se, but it's definitely noticeable that having those other locations in the strip center rather than it just being us by ourselves is much better than when we originally started out. On one side of the large building, it was us, and on the other side was a bankrupt movie gallery. And when they finally went out, we were left alone for a long time. So we could definitely tell an uptick when we were able to remodel the building and bring those other tenants in, which have been terrific.
That's great. And so this is the second overall location, if I understand correctly.
This is our fourth. The location that we're currently in now is our
Mhm.
fourth location that we've been in, and inside of this particular location, we've moved from one side of the building to the other in a remodel.
Oh
I
wow!
guess
So
you could
I
say
mean,
5 moves.
that's that. Wow, that's fantastic. So you've definitely done a lot with the store and grown it over the years, and with that much amount of space available, how do you allocate all of that space to various games? And I've seen on your website that you offer quite a wide variety of games for people to play. So I was curious how you base that out throughout the store so that it's easily findable for customers coming in.
Yeah, well, we learned a lot with open gaming space throughout the years, and it fills up faster than you think it would. It definitely doesn't seem that big now. I wish we had a little bit more space because we get times where we have too much uh, going on, and it's hard to find room for everybody. But we definitely want to. It's always been a free place to play as well, except for, of course, an event that you pay and you get a prize at the end, and it's something substantial. But all throughout the day, when we're open, it's always open gaming. You can play for free. You can grab stuff. We have a demo shelf. We have pinball machines. We have different things that you can do inside that area. So we've tried to make it diversified, so it's got a little bit of something for everybody and welcoming. And with that, we definitely tried to make the front of the house, which is the retail area, kind of isolated a little bit from the gaming area, but allow a wide enough entrance that you can see back there what's going on. Uh, and that's been the way we've tackled it, just making sure that we have a little bit for everybody, but yet keep a good front of house where all the products at, and then just have the wide open gaming area for whatever people would like to play, unless of course we have a large event that's planned, whether it be a Pro Tour qualifier or Warhammer 40K event, pinball league, whatever it may be. There are definitely things that can switch that up.
I always love hearing stores that can afford to offer the free to play aspect. Is that just built into, I guess, the expenses on your end? At what point did you realize that was something the store can afford to do, or was it something that you always had planned to implement when you opened the store way back in the early days?
I always felt it was important for something that we just do. And since we don't market in a traditional sense, I feel that offering that space up for people to be able to enjoy and have it well lit, clean, and welcoming. If they have their friends, family come in and they enjoy it, they'll hopefully tell some others. And that's the way we've tried to continue to grow the business, because we couldn't tell much of a difference when we would do radio ads and such. Not that that's bad. That works great for some people. We tried TV commercials once. We tried radio commercials once, and all that stuff. Just we couldn't really tell what the impact was, but we could tell the impact of having a good time, playing different games, offering different games to play, offering the larger events, working with the vendors to bring in larger events. Um, that would seem to work for us. So we felt it was always important that free open gaming, in most instances, unless there's a actual event that's going on that's advertised to have a prize or such, or it's dedicated solely that day for that event, we felt that was an important thing to do. So we've just absorbed that, and definitely get you some weird looks when you definitely talk to people that are real big into retail and they try and maximize every square foot they had and put a dollar value on that. We don't do that. That's not our formula for the way we do business. So we've just thought it was always a great thing to do. So we've continued to do it and felt like if they had a good time there, that hopefully, no pressure at all, but hopefully they remember us, and next time they need something, they'll give us a call or stop by.
So, what are some of the marketing tactics that you use after experiencing, you know, the more traditional methods of marketing that didn't work out or didn't have a way to track, like you were saying, the benefits of it? Do you use any more, approaches like social media today for your marketing efforts? Are there other marketing efforts you use to draw more customers to the store?
Sure. In fact, they stole our name. So yeah, we worked with them a lot. Meta. So we've had conversations with them. We work with them regularly. That's been a pretty fun relationship over the past few years. Um, we've also done, eBay, of course, that when we list auction items or items for sale on the store, that it's, branded appropriately with the Metagames logo. We use Instagram, not so much the X Twitter. But we do have a little bit of presence there, but just not very much. But Instagram, Facebook is definitely where we've concentrated our efforts at, and of course we utilize those uh, the best we can without driving people nuts with stuff. So we try and pick good ones and make them fun and entertaining, and use them appropriately so that we can get the word out. So yeah, I think those have been great for us, and couldn't do it without them probably, in this day and age. Prior to social media taking off, word of mouth was the way that we primarily did advertise. We just didn't have a lot of money for marketing in a traditional sense.
And what's the gaming scene like in Springfield? Is there a lot of stores in your area? Are you like one of the few in your area? Or like what is the player base from what you've experienced in terms of the gaming that they're looking for, whether it be the popularity of games or just the, influx of traffic? What is the gaming scene overall, the feel there like?
Oh, it's amazing. There's a lot of great stores in our area. There's numerous of them. We have quite a few actually for really as big as Springfield is. There's quite a few, and they all have, I think, their pluses, and they bring something for everybody to go enjoy, or a different night maybe to do something that one of the other stores isn't doing. And we'd also reach out to non-traditional game locations like restaurants, and work with them as well. And I think there's plenty to go around, and there is a large player base for numerous games in our area. It's been fantastic.
And so when you're selling to these customers that come in, whether they're buying cards, whether they're buying board games, whether it be the pinball, which I do want to get to because I find that fascinating that you have pinball. That really brings me back to my childhood. What are you noticing are the most popular games at your store that, whether it be the draw of to those games or the overall turnout to whether it be the competitive magic events or, board game nights, what are you seeing from your store in terms of the most popular things that people are playing?
Uh, Definitely, Magic the Gathering, Games Workshop product lines are great for us too. We have a good role playing crowd. Our board game night is fantastic. The events we run with that is good, and that allows a lot of diversity because it's not locked into just one board game. There's numerous of them usually going on, and have a good crowd for that. It's fairly well rounded, and there's always a lot of excitement around the new stuff that does come out, so that gets supported fairly well as well. Um, as well. That was neat. So I'm glad I got that in, the double word there, the same. Anyway, um, yeah, it's great. We do have the space that allows multiple things to go on at once. So there's a lot of nowadays there seems to be more casual Magic than ever, especially with Commander. That seems to be very popular. Again, board games are great. We do have some role playing groups that come in and utilize the space. Um, Disney Lorcana gets played. The new Star Wars Unlimited's been good. And then the miniatures have always been a mainstay since we opened. We've always done events for that as well.
Okay, so let's talk about the pinball because that was something I knew I had to circle back to because out of all the other stores I've interviewed, nobody has had pinball. And that really, like I said, circles back to my childhood. So I wanted to know if you could talk about when you implemented the pinball and what was the driving factor to bring that in because I know pinball machines are expensive.
Yeah, and when we first started out, they weren't near as expensive as they are today. But I'll try and give some background on that. I was just with some friends, and we travel every year to the Texas Pinball Festival. We just got back this past weekend, and we have a great group that goes to that. And I think it was 9 years ago or so. One of my really good friends said, "Hey, I'm going to put a pinball machine in here," and I'm like, "Well, that sounds like a great idea. That's just even something more we can add." And so, we started out with a brand new one that he brought in, and I thought that was crazy because of how much it cost at the time. And I think that it was just a large sum of money to me for one game. And before we knew it, within a year or so, we had four, and then five, and then six, and now we're up to like 10 that are at the store. And we have a group that lets us have those on site for us, and really good friends of the store and mine. And we have a rotation that goes through, and we try and keep some of the latest and greatest. Of course, we don't have every new title that gets released, but we do try and keep it fresh. And we just found it to be something different. A lot of people, that does remind them of their childhood. Some people, haven't had the opportunity of seeing them. They weren't as popular as they are today, 10 years ago. Arcades kind of, weren't as big. They're making a comeback now, I believe. Barcades, things like that. And it just gave people another opportunity and an outlet to see something new and different. And we thought that was cool. So we just said, heck with it, let's do it.
And you hold tournaments for it too. So what's that like? So how do you structure a tournament with pinball? Because I only know it from more of the casual old school days of going into, a mall and playing the pinball machines in the game room that was there.
Yeah, sure. And that's not particularly my expertise. I don't really run the events at all. I provide them the space to do so, and they really do a great job with running it. In fact, they have league going on starting next Tuesday, I believe, and we circulate between different other arcades in the area and participate with them. So they just got done with one, so ours will start up next. And there's numerous of those in our area. We have three or four, and we try and coordinate with them. And they do different things. There's different formats for pinball that you can do. You can do a straight up tournament, points, wins. Whoever has the highest point total on the machine, takes that machine win. And then you may play three or four machines, and your aggregate score of those total will end up being the winner. And they have things like pin golf, their split flipper challenges. There's all kinds of stuff that they do, but I don't run those, so I'm not the go-to expert on that. So I'd have to do a little more research to be able to answer you in totality there. But it's definitely unique, and it's more of a fun thing. There definitely is a strong competitive environment for that. We actually did host the Missouri State Championships this year for pinball, and that's with the International Federation of Pinball. I'm probably butchering their acronym, the IFPA, so my apologies out to them for that. But we were lucky enough to host that event, and we had some of the best players in Missouri come out and play at the store, and it was great.
That's fascinating. I didn't even know such an organization existed. I didn't know there was like this demand for this type of competitive pinballing, but that just sounds so much fun to me. It's something if I was in Missouri, it's something I would definitely love to do. So I'm curious now from the business side of that, how does that work out in terms of revenue versus say something like Magic? I know Magic is what I would imagine is probably one of the more bigger money makers for the store and like Games Workshop, for example. I'm curious where pinball would fit in and it seems like though you are getting the demand for it too.
Um, well, we just provide the space for it. You can call me crazy. I do a lot of different stuff. So I simply provide the space. They supply the games. They make sure they're in great working order, and I have a great relationship with them. And I'm happy to give them the space to be able to have the diversification, to have different people want to come visit our store. So that's the way I look at it, and that's just the way I do it. I can't say that that's probably what anybody else would do, but that's the way I do it, and that's the way I like to do it. So that's just what I do.
We're going to take a quick break from this podcast to talk about our sponsor, Cardboard Shuffle. Cardboard Shuffle was our 10th podcast interview here at the Match Slip with store owner Mark. Mark has expanded his brand and has produced his own card sleeves called Shuffle Shields. Shuffle Shields come in packs of 100 premium matte card sleeves for standard size trading cards. They contain no PVC and are acid-free. I have 17 packs of Shuffle Shields card sleeves to give away to listeners of the podcast and followers of the Match Slip on social media. Requests for a free pack of card sleeves shipped for free to you will be processed on a first-come, first-served basis. To receive your free pack of Shuffle Shields, you'll need to send a screenshot that you're following Cardboard Shuffle on Facebook to frank@thematchslip.com.
From the Magic the Gathering side of things, I kind of want to touch back on that since you had played competitively. In the store, translating from your background of playing to owning the store, did you have the WPN Premium set up from the very beginning when you started the store? Are you WPN Premium, I should really start off with?
Yeah, in fact, we were. I don't know if we were the first, but we were definitely in the first round of that scenario, and we've always had a good relationship with Wizards of the Coast. So yeah, we were definitely one of the first. I don't know if that program started out with 6 stores or 11 stores, but we were one of those in that initial run, and have been since, and work with them closely and communicate with them regularly. So yeah, we definitely been a part of it. I think even we had some pictures up at a Gamma when that program first started years ago, and they had pictures of our chandelier and some things like that. Of course, we're no Mox Cafe or anything like that. We're just a single store in Springfield, Missouri, but we definitely worked with them to achieve that level, and we've been there since.
Excellent. And how difficult was the process for you guys to get approved for it?
Well, initially when that program came out, it was very difficult. I don't know how hard it is now to get it. It seems like they still have some requisites that you have to do to maintain that, which is great. But we really didn't know what to expect when that was being rolled out. But we worked with them. They worked with us, and we were able to achieve that level with them. But when it first was rolled out, we didn't know a whole lot about it, so it was kind of different to see what they were striving to go for, and it's understandable what they were wanting to get out of that. I think a clean, polished setup that was well manicured and had the things they wanted to see in there, and like name tags for employees, things like that. Some different things that maybe we weren't doing, but they were definitely good ideas. I think they helped us improve. So I'm glad we went through it with them, and we continue to participate to this day. So yeah, it's been a good thing to do.
So if we switch a little bit over to the selling side of things, when you're selling Magic the Gathering single cards, I know you have a TCG Player Pro account I saw on the website, and I'm sure you sell in-store as well. Do you see a ratio difference as to where more of those online sales come from? Is it in-store versus the online sales? Do both weigh evenly? How have you seen it from your side?
They're not evenly. I think we do, and I'd have to look in front of the numbers, and I'm not there, and I usually don't worry about it. But in stores is probably the higher percentage by far. In TCG Player definitely does good, but we do well with it in store as well.
And you even offer to buy bulk cards
Yep.
from people sell, which I thought was fantastic, because I know not every store can afford maybe to do that, or maybe they just feel they can't make money off of it. I was curious why you guys decided to do that, because I know there's probably not much money on a bulk card, but in today's day and age, with how many cards are being printed and we see bulk stuff become expensive now in some cases, it almost seems like it's worth buying the bulk. So I was curious if you were always buying bulk cards, or if that's something new that you started.
Yeah, we're always buying bulk cards all the time, and we've been doing it for so long that we just have always had a ton of cards, and we always buy. We have, I think we have a TCG machines that for our card sorter. We have different ways we go about being able to go through them pretty quickly, and we're always buying. And I think that's one reason why in store we see that perpetuate more to the plus side than online, because people can come in and trade-in cards, and we're always buying as well. And not only Magic cards, we do used miniatures, used board games, we buy pinball machines, we do it all.
I would imagine the goal is probably, particularly from the card side and even the other products as well, was to just make sure you had on hand whatever a customer might be looking for.
Yeah, that's what we hope. That's what we hope to achieve. Of course, there's so many cards now that's almost an impossibility, especially when you're just one location. But part of our goal was to grow the community. So we take a lot of the bulk and we just turn it into bulk buys where we'll fill up a white box and we wrap it with our logo and such, and we sell a large box of that bulk for a really inexpensive price. So it gives the new player an opportunity to be able to get in the game and have quite a few cards just to start out with. That's very economical, $10-15 for a large box of cards. So we try and pass that on.
Well, that's a great idea. I think it's very good, especially getting people started in whatever hobby they choose to pursue. When you're looking at, in totality, all the games that you sell, which are the most difficult in terms of ordering for you to make decisions on, whether that be because of the cost or whether that be because from, your internals in terms of trying to decide if it's going to sell? How do you balance that?
We probably don't do very great at it, but we sure do try. And it would probably be board games, just because they're very much the cult of the new. They'll get released. There's a lot of them that come out these days, and you don't know which one's going to be the one for that week or a month or so. So we may only get a couple when we actually needed 24 or 24 or more, and then they go away and they're gone. Plus, a lot of them, the diehard board gamers, they'll already have received a copy of many of the releases these days, via Kickstarter or GameFound. And so that adds some challenges too, to, how many do you get when that a large part of your base has already got a copy of it through, kickstarting it, or, have they waited till it came to the retail portion of the market? So that makes it a little bit difficult on that front, but we just kind of go with it. And if it looks cool to us, we'll take a gamble on it. And we always try and at least get a couple of everything. And we have a great relationship with some other really cool places that we work hand in hand with. We do a lot of work with the Gamers Ranch here in Missouri, which is a large location, and have a great relationship with them. So, we kind of pick their brain on what they're wanting to get to and what their crowd's looking to playing. And that's kind of neat. So we leverage that as well. But board gaming is definitely the hardest one to do, probably just because you don't know what exactly they're going to do or which one's going to be popular that week or month.
Have you ever held any dual events with the other game stores in the area?
We've done some things with other stores in the area, especially when they approach us or we reach out. We've done some fundraising activities. We've loaned out some games before to their events if they were needing another one. If we got advanced copies, we do things like that. Always willing to work with anybody, really. But yeah, we've reached out and helped some people that just first started and needed some advice. We've done that as well. We've just been at it a long time. So yeah, we're very approachable.
And, with being at it for so long as you have, because I know some stores will do conventions to try to get the name out of the store. And from, your experience in the gaming industry and, how long you've been at it, you may not need to necessarily, quote unquote, get the name out, even though I'm sure as a business owner, you always want more people to know about your business. Do you still, or have you done in the past, any conventions for, whether it be selling, just branding, anything of that nature?
We have, but it hasn't been necessarily for our branding. We used to do War Machine Weekend, that we would help support that. That was done by one of our employees, and he did that for numerous years. And now I think it's transitioned to something called Wayfarer Weekend. He moved on from that event, but we did that one. It's been tons of years prior, but he did participate in that and run that himself. But of course, we were there to support him throughout that. We have a great local community that our board gamers run Moon City Con, and we try and participate that in every which way we can. There are other conventions in the area that we do participate with, but we've never ran one underneath our company logo. We've just been a sponsor.
Okay, no, that's great too. I mean, just the fact that you, even at this nature of the game that you're in, and how long you've been doing it, the fact that you're still participating in, those early things, it's great. I mean, it helps all around, I would imagine.
Yeah, it does.
So with the gaming, I also noticed on your website you have the Ozarks flying discs. Is that like disc golf, I would imagine?
Yeah, when COVID came around, and we were just trying to do different things, and going outside, you had the space between that you needed to maintain to stay safe and whatnot. So there for a while, we did quite a bit of frisbee golf and worked with numerous in the industry on that. And that was kind of fun. We no longer do that since we got past COVID. That shelf space been turned back into more our traditional stance, which is board games, card games, miniature supplies, miniatures, role playing books. But that was definitely fun during that time, and it was something different that we could do and get outside with a different community while we were all going through that issue of COVID.
I know you said you'd like to try new things, and that's just part of your nature of what you like to do with the business. What would you say has been your favorite thing that you've tried that's worked out, and a thing that you tried that maybe didn't work out?
No comment. I have no idea. I honestly don't remember. I don't. They all run together. I don't think I've had anything that was just absolutely horrible by any means. But nothing sticks out as as a favorite. Had a lot of really good things that we've done. So been
Yeah, no, that's fine.
it,
If there
it,
isn't anything, that's perfectly
yeah, it's
fine.
been an adventure, and every part of it, we just try and absorb it and do the best we can with it and enjoy it at that time. And then we're always looking for the next thing, and always trying to look to the past for the good stuff as well. And it's been a good adventure. So no complaints about any of the things that would have gone better or for worse. That's just all part of doing the business.
That's great to hear. And on that same notion, from more of a business standpoint, rather than trying things out with games, for example, what would you say is one positive that's occurring with the business right now, and one thing that you would like to see improve upon? And it could be improving upon, like, something that may take some time to come to fruition, just more of like your assessment of things as we stand in this moment in time.
Yeah, that's a really good question. In fact, I honestly have to think about that a little bit. I don't have a really good answer for you right now on that one. I think you're looking for like long-term goals, and part of it is just to keep doing what we're doing, be able to have enough growth year after year. If you're not growing, you're dying. So looking for those things that you can do to keep rising, and to keep having fun with it. And when it doesn't become fun anymore, I'm not going to do it, and I'll just walk out and lock the door and be done.
No, it's always important to enjoy what you do, and I could tell you definitely enjoy it being in business for this long. So I want to pivot to the store layout, and I was hoping, to the best of your ability, if you could describe a little bit how the store is laid out to the newcomer like myself, for example, that would be visiting your store for the first time.
Yeah, I'll do the best I can. I think the website also has some photos as well. But you'll come into the store, and you're greeted with the full retail layout. On one side, you'll see that there's a bunch of miniatures games from Marvel Crisis to Star Wars to Games Workshop. On the other side, we have a lot of Dungeons and Dragons books, miniatures. And then you run into the register area on one side, and then it transitions into the TCGs, CCGs that run down that way. And then we have a couple kiosks where you can utilize TCG Player online to be able to check out all the inventory and do an in-store order and pick it up there on the spot, and then keep going around, and you'll run into the board game area. And then in the middle, we just have various items from miniature supplies to board games, to dice, to whatever you may need. And then there's like about the size of a garage door opening that leads into the large game area and back. And then one wall is dominated by all the pinball machines, with all the rest of the floor being dedicated to just open tables. And then some larger miniature tables, of course, 4x8 tables for miniature gaming.
This episode of The Match Slip is sponsored by Crash CityCon, Roanoke, Virginia's premier gaming and fan convention. It's tabletop gaming at its best. In addition to role-playing games, board games, there are vendors, and so much more. Play with some of the top game masters in the area, enjoy a casual game in their open gaming area, or learn to play games you always wanted to play. Attend Crash CityCon August 23rd through the 25th of 2024 at the Berglund Center Special Events Center. You could check out more information at crashcitycon.com.
And so for all those games that you have going on, you mentioned you can have more than one game going on at a time. Do you have like a dedicated judge for those games, or is it from the employees at the store who handle that?
Yeah, when it's casual, it's just the employees from the store, going back there, checking on things, answering questions that people have. But then for actual events that we do have, there are, of course, judges for that.
And I guess as we wrap up here, one of the things I wanted to ask you about, and this doesn't necessarily have to include money, it could be something in the near future or off into the distant future. And having been in business for so long, you may have a lot of these things accomplished, especially with the amount of space you have, for example. But are there any desires that you have for the store of what you would like to see come about in the future for it? Like, for example, some stores I've talked to want to open a second location.
I don't really have a want to open up a second location. If I did anything, I would want to open up 4 more, because I believe that either you do 1, 3, or 5 in order to have success. 2 seems like it would just split things down the middle and wouldn't be real great for me per se. So if I'm going to do it, I want to go all out. But that's not something I'm interested in at this time. I think that what I would like to have happen in the future is, keep working on relationships with those that we're close with and those vendors that have supported us throughout the years, and continue to stack stuff up as deep as we possibly can to compete with some of the behemoths like Amazon and Target, and be able to offer the same kind of deals that they do for the local community that also has a great place to play.
Excellent. And one of my final questions I want to ask you, and this is more of just to hear the former competitive player side of you in relation to the Commander format. So I know, and I've heard a lot of competitive players, whether former or present, are not normally fans of Commander. And I personally would consider myself more of a competitive player too. I have played Commander in a casual way. I like building the decks probably more than playing. One thing I want to know is, why do you think that is, and how do you feel about the Commander format personally, coming from a competitive background?
Well, there's 2 sides of it for me. It probably is, as you stated, there is that the competitive side of me definitely has a different reaction to it than the business owner side of me.
Of course.
The business side is that I think it's fantastic. It's a great way to get people to play. It's casual. It's fun. People are enjoying it. The 4 copies of every card in your deck, that's kind of gone to the wayside. I don't play a lot of Commander. I do more of the board game thing these days. That's where I've concentrated on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what I enjoy a lot today. So I think in the business side of it, the casualness of it, the not having to have 4 copies of every expensive card, and then competitive play can take a drain on you. So I think that's something to take into account, that opens the door for the more casual play, and it's just a fantastic game. So I think that they found a format that works, and they still get to get the taste of Magic from that, and a lot of deck building things they can do with that type of play. But that's not really the way I remember it, and that's not the pure way that I enjoy doing it. I like booster drafting, sealed deck, 1v1, the 60 card tune decks, sideboarding in for the second game, playing the best 2 out of 3. I like that competitive format. That's where I would want to be if I was still playing. But luckily enough, I've been able to break that habit, and I'm okay with that. I played it for a long time, had a huge collection, But I've definitely transitioned to more of the board games now. But I definitely see the appeal of Commander. It's not necessarily for me. I will play if somebody hands me a deck. I don't quite understand some of it. I don't like some of the new rules. I don't like that, there's no more mana burn, for example. That's kind of weird to me. Some of the new rules that have taken place, that just kind of is just different. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just different. But I don't do a lot of the Commander either. And if I were to play Magic again, I would probably lean more into competitive play, but I don't really know the mix of cards that well these days. So I don't know if they would transition over to competitive as much as they do the way they've transitioned to appeal to the Commander players.
And what board game is your favorite to play these days?
Oh, there's so many. I really like Scythe a lot. That's a huge favorite of mine. Play that a lot with my group, and it's fantastic. There's just so many that we play that have been terrific. Barrage, Nucleum, Power Grid. There's just a bunch. We play a ton.
Awesome. Well, Allan, it's been great getting to talk with you, learning about the store, your hobbies, what brought you to it as an overall. And before we wrap up, I would like to just have you let people know where they could find out more about your store and where they can connect with the store.
Yeah, sure. They can find us on Facebook, Metagames Unlimited, and then, of course, on our website, mguinc.com. And they can also give the store a call anytime, 417-881-9390. They also reach out via email, customerservice@mguinc.com as well. So I appreciate you making some time for me. Hopefully I've been able to facilitate your questions and answer them pretty well. I'm not the greatest at this type of thing. So just appreciate the opportunity and you taking the time to reach out. So I wish you all the best and look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Likewise, it was my pleasure having you on. You did a fantastic job. Loved hearing about the store. Thank you again for coming on, Allan.
Yeah, thank you. You have a great evening.
You as well. And for everybody else listening, I invite you to check out the matchslip.com/newsletter, where you could reviews I write up about the stores I visit in person, if that's of interest to you. And with that being said, we will catch you in the next episode. Take care.